Hey everybody, welcome to the Tortured Man Mancast episode 25. What's Crackalakin? Part 2, and this is where we just talk about anything and everything. It's a grab bag. It is up in the air. We grab whatever we want and we just talk about it. So there are no rules today. We're not sticking to a single subject. So I'm going to let Chad have at it first. What say you, my brother?
That's all right, brother. It is exactly what we're doing today. We are wrapping up the current events of the day, the week, and so forth, talking about all the latest developments in news, politics, and culture. I would like to start, my brother, with a little story that's coming to light right now. I would say the biggest expert on Anthony Fauci that there is today is RFK Jr. He wrote a 750 almost page book with 12,000 citations on Anthony Fauci, revealing all of the underhanded, dastardly things that man has done over the past 30, 40 years. And it was so precise and so spot on and carried all the receipts with it so well that Anthony Fauci has never sued him over it. So that should tell you something. It's probably full of truth, or else Fauci would have sued, but Fauci doesn't want discovery because obviously RFK knows where to go get that information because he fucking cited it ad nauseum throughout the book. So with that, Tucker, once again, in all of his wonderful glory, has brought in RFK Jr. In a long, hour and 20-minute long sit-down interview, and they really get into the nitty-gritty of what's going on in Ukraine. That was the bulk of everything they talk about is what's going on in Ukraine. RFK does a fantastic job at going through the history of the issues with Russia, Ukraine, and the United States, NATO, and so forth, lays that all out there, demonstrates how it was a provocation from the U.S. and the West over and over and over and over again that's brought this on, discusses the fact that we've had Victoria Nuland, the likes of Joe Biden, and so forth, say that we are actually, our whole intention here is regime change in Russia. This is a proxy war. So with all that said, my favorite thing that RFK brings in this, and it's a big bombshell. He talks about the fact that we know there's those bioweapons facilities in Ukraine. I don't know if you remember, like a year ago, Victoria Nuland was talking about how we're worried about the Russians like getting them or blowing them up or doing something, and then everybody's like, "Wait, we have bioweapons facilities in Ukraine?" And it's like,
Correct.
"Oh no, not bioweapons, but bio facilities. No, it's for good stuff, not for weapons. We're just coming up with medicines and shit, right? Sure." So
We're weaponizing syringes with good medicine.
Well, and he makes this very valid point, which is that whenever they make a bioweapon, they also make a vaccine because there's going to be blowback. When your troops release a bioweapon, some of them are going to get it too. So you need to have the antidote, right? So they are technically creating vaccines for the monsters that they build. So, but anyway, he talks about the fact that in 2014, 300 scientists wrote President Obama about this he was doing gain of function research all throughout the United States, and 300 different scientists, top level scientists, they contacted Obama and said, "Hey, we want you to put a stop to Fauci's gain of function research." And so Obama actually did a moratorium. He shut down 18 of the worst Fauci experiments, where most of them were taking place in North Carolina by scientist Ralph Barrett, which we've all heard of from the Eco Alliance. Instead of obeying that law, though, Anthony Fauci shifted lots of the operations, the vast majority of them, to overseas places, offshores, namely China, and guess where else? Ukraine.
Shocking.
So, yeah, in the midst of our CIA staging a coup over there and funding it to the tune of $6 billion, meanwhile, we're building bioweapons labs over there because we're not allowed to do it in the United States anymore. And yeah, I just think that's some pretty interesting shit. So good old Fauci is not only flouting the law by, perjuring himself in front of Congress, in front of the Senate, but he also does far, far, far more illegal shit like this. So
yes, and we can even go further. Now, I would also say that Rand Paul, along with RFKJ, is also an expert on Anthony Fauci. Now, he has the evidence and he has filed the paperwork. He's trying to get an attorney general anywhere to take it because everybody's blocking for for this guy for whatever reason. I mean, Fauci, and I've said it here and I'll say it again, he makes Joseph Mengele look like the girl who comes to your house to sell you Girl Scout cookies. This guy, between this last pandemic, that was absolutely a direct result of what he had going on with gain of function research, and along with the AIDS epidemic, just those two alone. There's so many more, 12,000 citations of all different kinds of crazy shit. This guy is probably most likely responsible for no less than 50 to 100 million deaths. There's no way to calculate for sure. But this guy is the largest fucking piece of human excrement that has ever lived, ever. He makes Hitler look like your fucking first grade school teacher. He is so deplorably disgusting. And he knows he's done it, and he did it all for money, by the way, and prestige. This guy is the most power-hungry narcissist I've ever seen in my life. But now Rand Paul's got the goods on him, put him in jail for a very, very, very long time, and the DOJ and the Attorney General won't even look at it because they're blocking for him.
Yeah, well, I found out watching that interview earlier that they Anthony Fauci got a 64 or 68% increase in pay. So he was just the director of the NIH and was already a very highly paid official, 200 plus K or something like that. But he wasn't paid more than the president until the Department of Defense hired him to handle the bioweapons stuff. So at that point, when he became the head of bioweapons, he got a 68% increase in pay, became the highest paid official across the board because he's handling some of the craziest shit and the most secretive shit the government's doing.
Yeah. And bioweapons.
Dangerous shit.
Right. This guy's whole life has been about
murder,
changing horrible, horrible, deadly diseases and making them as harmful and as more chaotic and crazy and more dangerous than they already were. And he takes pride in it. I don't know whoever bought, we're so far into it now. HIV. There's a lot of questions around that, but I can promise you it didn't start because somebody fucked a monkey. All right. It's not how that happened. And this is all Fauci too. As a matter of fact, we've talked about this before. I implore everybody, just watch the Buyers Dallas Club. That is the true story about one man waging war on Anthony Fauci himself over medications, and the medications that Fauci knew worked were better than the ones that he was proposing. And because he had control, he shut it all down and allowed literally millions of people to die so that he could enrich himself.
In the early 2000s, I had to, while active duty Marine, I had to take a multitude of shots, series of anthrax shots to supposedly inoculate me against the use of anthrax as a bioweapon against the United States. Turns out it was the United States who was creating anthrax in the DARPA lab. And here's the funniest part. After 9/11, when we were chomping at the bit to go into Iraq, and a big thing what we wanted to do was to start doing more bio labs. We wanted to create more bioweapons. And we were going to do that through the Patriot Act. Patriot Act opened the door for not only invading other countries and doing all this and that and invading the privacy of every American under the guise of terrorism. FISA courts, all this illegal shit, all this fucking obfuscating of the Constitution. But it also allowed new funding for all kinds of crazy military shit and new avenues that had been previously closed, like fucking other interrogation methods, waterboarding, you fucking name it, right? And holding detainees without any sort of trials or anything for God knows how long, so on and so forth, right? So there were two senators that were major hurdles, and I think Chuck Grassley was one. I can't remember who he said the other guy was. RFK was telling it. There was two senators, and they happened to be the two that got anthrax mailed to their offices. And when they got anthrax mailed to their offices, Congress got shut down, and all of a sudden, the Patriot Act just got pushed through under the chaos. So I just thought that was really interesting that a bioweapon created United States lab, because they actually traced it back to Fort Detrick. So they know it came from our guys. So a bioweapon created in a U.S. lab was used against U.S. senators to push them into voting for the Patriot Act. It's fucking madness, dude.
That's why we're the good guy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Just yet another reason why you can count on America to be there for you as long as the people in power get very wealthy doing it. They'll be there for you 100%. We had a conversation earlier today, Chad and I, as long as we're talking about things on the medical front. But we were talking earlier. I mean, it's just like Obamacare. I mean, they touted this as the greatest thing ever. Obama flew his flag as high as he could have, his people making him out to be the greatest president of all time in his great legislation. And it was written by the insurance companies whose net wealth has now exceeded over 125% from where they were, while everybody's premiums go up and your copays make it virtually impossible. You'll be bankrupted before your shit kicks in anyhow if it's really bad. So thanks for nothing.
Wait a minute. So are you trying to tell me the government isn't here for us and doesn't give a fuck about us? Au contraire, mon frere. I have evidence to the contrary. From the president, POTUS himself, boom, stepping into action, ready to engage and help out Maui. He says, we're laser focused on getting aid to survivors, including critical needs assistance, a one-time $700 payment per household, offering relief during an unimaginably difficult time.
Wow.
$700.
My house, my whole property.
Problem solved.
Has literally been burnt to the ground by
simultaneously, same day, 200 million more going to Ukraine.
Well, first off, Chad, we can't give $200 million anywhere, any kind of money at all that would be beneficial to those people in Hawaii, because the people who actually want that land that they are burning down on purpose, those people, Oprah Winfrey, anyone? Those people want that land because they want to turn it into a $1 trillion tourist trap. And they can't do that as long as those fucking natives won't leave, Chad. They gotta go. They gotta go.
That is definitely one conspiracy theory. But I'll say this, no conspiracy theory needed. They still haven't given any money to East Palestine. So fucking Maui, I'm sorry, you're fucked. But $700. Have a nice day.
This is what I can do for you. The people in East Palestine, the people in Maui, get on a plane and go to the Ukraine and then demand money, and you'll get as much as you fucking want.
Well, if you're Zelensky, a few of the oligarchs, and essentially all of the weapons manufacturers in the United States and worldwide. So.
Oh no, I mean they'll get as much money as they want, but they're going to have to hand it over to Zelensky.
Yeah,
that's how they get that money. So they can hand it back over to that guy. So this is the whole problem with everything that goes on in this country, is that, all joking aside, our government is so out of control at this point that you can't believe a single word that anybody says. If it comes, for instance, I've always believed that there are aliens in our own galaxy, alien to us anyway, other life, other planets that can provide life. I always found that very intriguing. I've been researching and studying it most of my life because I think it's really intriguing. And now that our government says that they're actually there, I go, no, they're not.
Probably not.
No, not at all. If you're willing to say that that's true, then it can't be true. If the government told me that it is 1 o'clock in the afternoon and the sun is out, and it was 1 o'clock in the afternoon and the sun was out, I would just stay in my house figuring it's raining and it's dark.
How about it?
I mean, why would you believe a single thing they say? Our president is an absolute corrupt career criminal who, if he wasn't a U.S. senator and a vice president and then president of the United States, he'd be in jail like John Gotti. As a matter of fact, there's more proof against the Biden crime family than there ever was against John Gotti or Al Capone. And those guys went to jail. I mean, if the Durham report, it's literally, it's a list of this is how you create a RICO case.
Comer report.
Comer, excuse me.
You're good.
That it's a RICO case. I said that right from the beginning. It reads like a RICO case because 23 different shell corporations, and I would also like to say that for anybody who Democrats out there, if you're clinging to this belief that you need to see a video of Joe Biden actually taking a briefcase, he opens it up and says, "Look, everybody, I'm taking a bribe. Here's the money." And then there's somebody with a newspaper to show you the date and everything that had happened. And then Joe Biden signs a confession because that's what you want. It's so absurd.
Assassinate.
And in the mafia, for instance, they're called bagmen for a reason. The guy at the top never actually gets anywhere near the fucking anything. So nothing can ever be pinned on him. Yep. So that's Joe Biden, everybody. Mm-hmm. But the circumstantial evidence, if you take the top 10 RICO cases in American history and add up all the circumstantial evidence that got those people convicted, it's only half of what they have on the Bidens right now.
True story.
And they still won't do anything. And this, I don't even blame Democrats for. Jim Jordan, you're a piece of fucking shit.
Yeah. One other big reason why Jim Jordan and all of them are a bunch of pieces of shit. We have now, because of Tucker Carlson, because of Tucker Carlson, before Tucker left, I contend this is why. This is why Fox booted Tucker. He did an interview with Stephen Sund, who was Sund, who was the chief of Capitol Police during January 6th, the fucking chief. He's the one that requests National Guard help if need be. He's the one that would actually take away the permit if having been given the intel that apparently was there. So you have all of these top generals and intel officials during the January 6th hearings saying they had all this intel that all these crazy domestic terrorists were coming to town to kill fucking, high-level officials and to overthrow the government and to have an insurrection. And lo and behold, they didn't tell the chief of Capitol Police. They didn't tell him shit about it. And he even asked and requested intel because he knew that there was something coming. He knew there had to be and was wondering why he wasn't getting briefed on it. And they fucking stonewalled him. And during this, so they did the whole interview. They fired Tucker. They fucking completely just destroy that interview, blow it to pieces, except for one little clip that we saw that got released that was real fuzzy because somebody from Tucker's camp was still there and leaked some of it. So instead, Tucker just brought the guy back into his joint and said, let's do this again. And so he did. And he released this whole thing over the weekend. And Stephen Sund is like, yeah, not only did they not tell me, did they not let me prepare? He says, but when I called for National Guard relief, they denied my request because of the optics. He said, then I called again. I think he said 32 times or some shit because he was just like, what the fuck is happening? He said when they finally said, yes, you can have it, you can have the backup, it was 75 minutes later. And he said that they sent them to the wrong place, that when they went to the wrong place, they basically lined up and they took photos. They got a photo op with the Capitol behind them, and that's essentially all they did. They didn't help or anything. And
he also submitted recommendations to shut the entire city down. And
they were ignored. Yeah. So, and then he clearly explains that the people who really put the block on him getting this knowledge and were the intermediaries that stopped him from getting the backup were the sergeant at arms for the House. So the people who answered to Pelosi and to McConnell, which we know are the two most corrupt fucking people besides Joe Biden that are, have held office in the past couple of years. And it's clear this was a setup. It's clear it was a fucking setup, right? There's no doubt, zero doubt anymore. You've got Tariq Johnson, who was, what was he? Let me Let me look at him up because he
Well,
was
Sund also said that there were
lieutenant.
that there were dozens and dozens and dozens
Mhm.
of feds on the ground stirring up trouble.
As did Tariq Johnson, who was a lieutenant that day for the U.S. Capitol Police. You know what else they said? They told both of these cats, especially Stephen's son, during the Jan 6 hearing, we don't need to hear from you.
Right, of course not.
We don't want your testimony.
Yeah, but we don't.
Unfucking believable, man.
We
Except
don't
it
need
is believable.
we don't need to hear from any of those Capitol Police that helped the QAnon shaman, everywhere.
Walked him right in. Yeah.
We don't need to talk to them. And the guy who was actually outside on film begging people to break through barricades and to take over the Capitol has never been interviewed by the Capitol.
Not just that, but he's been defended by all of the most anti-MAGA places ever. He's apparently a big MAGA guy who was only there to support Trump, but for some reason he deserves to be defended by the likes of the Washington Post and 60 Minutes. Okay, right. Sure. That's not a fucking psyop. That's not a fucking Fed.
And then they finally said that they were gonna, bring him in and interview him, and Jordan was gonna bring him in, and nothing happened.
Right.
Again, Jim Jordan makes Trey Gowdy look like a tough guy. These ballless pieces of fucking shit in the Republican Party, I actually am angrier at them than I am the Democrats, because the Democrats don't lie about who they are. I might not like who they are, but they'll literally look you in the eye and go, we will do whatever we have to. We will scorch the earth and we will fucking lie to get you, but we will fucking get you. And they don't even hold back about it. I mean, when they get caught lying, they just simply go, well, we're after Trump. So, that way it's okay. And everybody goes, yay, because they're morons.
Right.
But the right just talks a whole bunch of shit. So we are now, and I bring this up all the time, we are now 8 months into Jim Jordan's ability to do anything since they took over the Congress. And he is the head of that committee. He has the power to subpoena any person in America that he wants to. And he has yet to write one subpoena. Not one. To say that he can't get Anthony Fauci in front of him, to say that he can't pull Ray Epps in front of him, to say that he can't do any of these things is absurd. Of course he can. He absolutely can. Here's the problem, though. Going in front of Congress is like having to go in front of the women from the lunchroom because they think you're the one who spilled the milk. While they have no power. They can't do anything. And there is no power in Congress at all. They can't do anything. These committees are the most worthless fucking pieces of garbage that our government has. It's only used to make us minions think that they're doing something.
They can do stuff against us. What we found out is they can't do anything against themselves.
Against each other.
Right. They can't do anything against the fellow government. But they can fuck the citizenry anytime they want.
Anytime they want.
Hard as they can.
As a matter of fact, we just doubled the IRS agents so that they can continue to do that to us.
Yep. And they've already said, people with the topmost, tippy top have said that the reason why they don't go after the big wheels, the billionaires, is because they have an army of attorneys to fight back. And it's just way easier to go after small potatoes like us. So.
Oh, right. Oh, this is how way I imagine a conversation goes. Oh, so I see that you're planning on voting for 80,000 new IRS agents that you guys are all claiming are going to come after rich people like me. Let's just assume I'm worth hundreds of millions of dollars. It's topical. I'm probably gonna have to go that way so I can get reelected. You know how you can't get reelected is because I'm not going to give you any fucking money, and neither are any of my friends. You remember how I raised a couple $1 million for you last election cycle? Well, you can count on zero. Now, how are you going to vote? I just changed my mind. I think you're right. I think that I'm going to have to vote no on that.
Right.
So
that's how that goes.
But what people at the top actually know, and they don't need to do anything like that, is because there's 75,000 pages IRS code so that the people at the top are 100% protected. And everybody else is as screwed as they feel like screwing you into the ground. And there's nothing you can do about it. On IRS agent's handbook, there are no specific rules. It's just guidelines. They can do whatever they want. An IRS agent can come to your house, without a warrant, come right through your fucking door, put a gun to your head, arrest you, and drag you away. And there's nothing you can do about it. Nothing. No warrant needed. We say that you didn't pay your taxes. We don't need a warrant. We're just coming for you.
Have you heard about that guy, the old guy who was like damn near crippled, who was shooting his mouth off on Facebook about how he was going to shoot the president?
He's dead.
And they fucking just
They killed him.
Smoked his ass.
It's a 75-year-old man who needed a walker to get around, who was no threat to anybody on goddamn earth. The only thing that I can think, and we're never going to ever know the truth, is maybe he fired on them because he's like, fuck it, I'm 75, I'm fucking obese, and I can't walk. So who cares? That's a possibility. But my guess is they just kicked his door and blew his brains the fuck out because they didn't like what he had to say.
So, yeah, here's my thing. Like, I think that, so I heard from people from his neighborhood. I've heard from people from his church. They actually said that he could be a little crotchety and like, he popped off on the internet, but they said in person he wasn't like that, and that he was actually a teddy bear, and that people liked him. He came to church all the time. He tried to help people when they needed it. He actually had an adult son that he's as the primary caretaker for, who's blind, who apparently like a few weeks ago had a stroke and got sent to a home. So maybe he's fucking going off the deep end because of that. But one of his fellow churchgoers had said that he just seen him, at the last service, and said he was fine. And like, he didn't really see, he meant to ask him about his son, but other than that, he didn't seem off. And he just figures, that he shot his mouth off, and he didn't understand though why they needed to come with the force that they did. Because again, 73 years old, damn near crippled, isn't climbing, is obese, isn't climbing to some fucking perch somewhere so he can take out the president. It's just not fucking happening. But I get it. You can't make threats like that. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. But for me, it's just like you couldn't go outside with a bullhorn and be like, hey, come out with your hands up, like instead it's just like, no, we're going to smash and so even you smash the doors and windows in, somebody might be sitting in there with a gun waiting. Because, you're clearly coming with force. Right. You know what I mean? I think you're coming to kill me. I'm about to fight back. And
Ruby Bridge?
Yeah. Again, why don't you sit the fuck outside with a bullhorn and say, hey, let's talk about this. We hear you saying some fucked up shit on the internet. What's bothering you today? Let's fucking talk this through. We hear you're really old and fucking not capable of much, but you could be crazy for all we know. So fucking let's talk it. We're going to call you right now. Answer the phone. They didn't do any of that shit. They just stormed the fucking house like stormtroopers, man.
Of course, because you cannot threaten the president of the United States unless it's Donald Trump. Otherwise, you can't do it.
Right. If you're
we actually had a D celebrity, Kathy, whatever her name is, Griffin, who's a terrible comedian. She literally held a fake severed head, blood pouring out of it, of Donald Trump, saying that she wanted to kill him. We actually have Johnny Depp saying directly that he wants to kill him, and then same with Madonna. Now, I'm not suggesting those people needed to be murdered for that. Neither did this old man.
I remember during the Iraq war protests, people were marching around with effigies of Bush, and they were burning them.
Yeah.
That's a pretty violent statement.
Right. So why didn't they just open fire and mow everybody down?
I don't understand why not, man. They were clearly fucking domestic terrorists trying to kill the president.
The only thing I can figure is this old guy sold some bad crack to Hunter. And it really pissed Joe off. I think I got.
Yeah.
So it's just that old man didn't do anything that deserved for him to die.
No, and then apparently the other part they were outraged about was they dragged his body outside and just left it lay on the fucking sidewalk out by the side of the road for like 3 or 4 hours. so all the neighborhood kids could see it. I think so. Everybody could see it. Like, this is what happens.
They're making a
Joe
statement.
Biden. Yeah.
Hey, here's the crippled old fat guy who said that he wanted to take out Joe Biden, and now he's fucking dead.
Who's next?
Right.
Yeah.
Anybody got something to say about that?
Sign up for that shit.
Right. Here's your government in action.
For the record, I have zero plans, would never have any plans to do anything like that. So stay the fuck away from my house. God damn it. I don't, I wish nothing but the best for Joe Biden. Except for a fucking heart attack or an aneurysm or something. Please, God, let him die.
The only thing that I will say about Joe Biden, I wish this from the bottom of my heart. Joe, I hope you get what's coming to you.
Damn it. I'm probably going to have to fucking delete that shit.
And what I mean by that is presents from well-wishers who love you so much.
Yeah. Or you just fall down the stairs and you fucking break your old head.
What I'm saying is that, and anybody else, look, for everybody who's saying that Trump should go to jail for these crimes against humanity or whatever, if you have the evidence and the proof, then he should.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, fuck yeah.
And Bush 1 and Ronald Reagan and Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton, and the list goes on and on and on. But the problem is, for a lot of them, we do have the goods on them and nothing happens to them. And that's my issue. Imagine this. So a long time ago in some third world banana republic, the vice chancellor actually shot somebody in the face on a hunting trip and nothing happened to him. Nothing.
Oh, wait.
Wait a minute. Wait. Oh, that was Dick Cheney.
That was our place.
That was us. That was our banana republic, and that was our vice president shooting a man directly in the face.
Can I tell you something funny on a much lighter note? A male powerlifter who identifies as a woman set a women's national record at a championship in Brandon, Manitoba, Canada yesterday. Ann Anders, 40, currently holds multiple records in the female division, sure including women's deadlift and bench press, and has placed first in 9 out of the 11 competitions he has participated in over the last 4 years. I think he blew over 200 pounds. According to the advanced results obtained by Redu, Andra's total powerlifting score was over 200 pounds more than the top performing female in the same class.
That goes right along with the math that men are 20 to 30% stronger than women.
Bingo.
So there you go. Well, I mean,
it's stupid. And to these other broads, these bimbos that are standing next to him on the little leaderboard thingy, the little boxes you stand on, and he's like standing on the top one. For those dumb bimbos standing next to him and not being like fuck this, walking off, you get what you deserve.
The best.
If you're gonna be in the fucking circus, don't be sad when a fucking clown outdoes you.
The best one of all time is South Park, where they bring in Heather Savage.
Yes.
That's all the girls.
That's my favorite. I'm looking at the Twitter thing or the X thing or the post right now, and just under it, somebody posts the meme. It's a picture of Randy Savage on top of the strong women competition platform.
Oh my God, that was so funny, man. That's one of the best South Parks ever. With this competition, I'm gonna break them.
Fucking glorious, man.
So you started your transition when? I'm not here to talk about my transition. I'm here to break records and break bones.
There's so many of them. People love it.
It's just the best, right? So it's just becoming sillier and sillier. And in reality, I was listening to Joe and PBD, Pat, David talking, where they were, I think Joe was on Pat's show at that time, and Pat asked him specifically, directly, when it comes to this kind of woke, crazy shit, like teachers who want kids to transition and want to help them to do it, whether they need it or not, or, that kind of stuff. The transgender thing that is crushing women's sports right now. What did he think the percentage of people that actually really want this to happen in America? And they both came to the conclusion that it was probably 10% around that. And that's about it.
Right.
And they both then went on to talk about how the difference is that one of their voices is louder than 1,000 regular people's voices, because they get so hysterical and they won't stop. They just shout everybody else down and make it look like everybody is in league with them and agrees with where they're coming from, because most people won't spend that amount of time trying to fight back. They just won't, because it doesn't affect them.
Yeah, you're not wrong. I don't know what else to say about that, man. I mean, that pretty much hits the nail on the head.
And we see it happen all the time. I think the only real pushback we've seen that has lasting results so far is the whole Bud Light thing. Budweiser last week sold 9 of their brands. They went from 35 billion down to 27 billion in just 4 or 5 months. It is devastating them.
Yeah, it is. It is definitely a market cap. There's a lot of speculation. That was dead weight they wanted to cut anyway.
It's a bad look, whether that's the truth or not.
No doubt. So, yeah, I mean, as far as Bud Light's concerned, well, I do like the fact that there has been that level of pushback, and it does seem like it's been effective. I wish they would use. I wish, if we're going to use that kind of power and we can actually affect something like that, so we could go after a company and literally harm them. Does it have to be Bud Light? Why can't it be fucking Pfizer? Why can't it be, one of the war machine companies? You know what I mean? Let's go after Raytheon. Why can't it be BlackRock? I don't know, because BlackRock owns everything, but why can't we go after something more important than Bud Light? That's all I'm saying.
Well, because the average person in America doesn't have anything to do with those companies. They don't get anything from them. And the ones that are getting something from Pfizer, they think they need that medication or they're going to die. So they don't want to piss them off either. Yeah, but Bud Light, that's a different thing. You're messing around with beer, bro. I mean, that's a different subject.
Well, and that's easy.
But there's other cracks starting to show, not in a small town. Everybody, the standard characters on the left went insane trying to get some big swell under that. And all it did was help Jason Aldean. It got bigger and bigger and bigger. He added more and more tour dates, and he's making more and more money. Now that new kid, Oliver Anthony, who, have you heard about him yet? He's got it's an outlaw country kind of song, similar to the kid from Canada. That's who he reminded me of.
Coulter Wall.
Yeah, Coulter Wall. A similar kind of vein. Nobody knew who he was. And he released a song, Rich Men Above Richmond, because he's from Richmond, Virginia. And he's talking about people in D.C. And it's scathing. He totally tears them apart. And he's already got 5 million views. And he just went from some Joe Nobody working at a factory putting this song out. And it's going insane. He's being offered record contracts. It's gone nuts, man. And he just gave it to you straight. I mean, he's basically boiled it down to these guys are all a bunch of liars and thieves. And it's corrupt and it's terrible. And you got to, and I implore anybody, it seems, Oliver Anthony, and the song is actually really good. The guy's got a great voice, but the words are really poignant and they're well said. And so the woke culture wants to shut him down. And as soon as they tried, everybody jumped in and just shouted him down so bad that they've already walked away from it. They're not even going to bother with it because it's a fight that they know they can't win. So they just walk away from it. That's why the woke culture has left Budweiser to sit and die. Let that woman who started this whole thing. As a matter of fact, if you think about it, Dylan Mulvaney has literally fell off the face of the planet. Nobody even cares about that dude anymore. right? Because woke
For the
culture
most part.
knew that was a fight they couldn't win, and they're pussies. So they got up, they took their ball, and they went home.
Hell yeah. I will say like the right and the whole like, outrage machine that does the canceling or does the boycotting, I should say, or whatever. They're fickle and they don't last long. I was surprised to see him stick with Bud Light, but I think the difference is Bud Light is easy to replace. Nobody really truly loved Bud Light. It was just like a brand that they were loyal to. They can't really have thought it was good flavored or anything like that. It was just a brand that meant something American, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah,
There's lots of alternatives.
kind of like Marlboro cigarettes or something.
Right. There's lots of alternatives. You don't have to go out of your way to get at those alternatives. They're right next to it on the shelf. Whereas a place like Target, it looked like they were going to boycott the shit out of Target, and they temporarily hurt Target. Target kind of budged a little bit, but that shit fell off because if you love Target and you were going to Target before, it's not that convenient to go to Walmart because Walmart sucks ass anyway, and it's probably in a different locale, and like people are not that willing to go that far out of their way. That's all I'm saying.
Well, generally speaking, whatever, regardless of large town or small town, big city, small city, you go where things are most convenient for you. If the most convenient thing for you to do is go to your local Winn-Dixie, then that's where you're going to friggin' go. Even if there's a Target, but you got to drive 25 miles to it, you're probably going to go to the Walmart that's 3 miles away, and vice versa, because it's about convenience. Most people do everything out of convenience, and they do it in their what's local or generalized around them. They're not going to go out of their way because the difference between Target and Walmart to me isn't a whole hell of a lot. They're selling the same junk. They're just selling the same stuff. That's all. One package isn't maybe or displays it in a less of a thrift store kind of way, but it's still the same shit, still the same Chinese crap that they're selling anywhere, right? And they're just competing for marketplace. And so, but that's what Bud Light. If you're buying Bud Light or you're buying Miller Lite or you're buying Modelo, is there any difference between any of those things? Not really. They're all the same.
Really. The footage of, I don't know if you've seen this is fairly new. It's cell phone footage from people during the Maui wildfires who were standing in the ocean to just try to get away from the fire. It just looks so horrific, dude.
Yeah. Chad, they're going to be fine. Did you hear that Biden's going to give them each $700?
$700 makes it all better, bro.
Absolutely, man.
So the big conspiracy theory
when you have
is
a 1,500 square foot home on Maui, which is in Maui is worth about $1.5 million, and it just burnt to the ground. That 700 goes a long way, bro.
Sure does. But there's a bunch of other really rich people that live in Maui, and those are the rich people that tell you. Those are the rich people tell you that global warming is going to kill us all. It's going to destroy all of our coastlines, and then they go and build these huge mansions on the side of these coastlines. And so the big conspiracy theory is that a bunch of the elites and the super uber wealthy wanted that place, wanted that property, wanted to sort of jettison the lower class folk or so forth. Oprah's been buying up land over there like crazy. She's bought numerous tracts in the past couple of years, hundreds of acres at a time. Has amassed like 900 acres or something like that. And she has a massive mansion over there. Bezos has a mansion there. Lady Gaga, Ellison, Julia Roberts, Will Smith, Bill Gates, Jim Carrey. I mean, there's a ton of people with these huge mansions there.
I'm not saying that it was started on purpose. All I'm saying is Oprah's land just got cleared for free.
So the thing is, though, so people are speculating that it was a direct energy weapon where they sent like basically a fucking laser beam that caused this crazy.
I heard it was a giant magnifying glass.
Fire. Yeah, they treating everybody like ants, and so, but with this direct energy weapon, they can control essentially where it goes because the point is that none of these mansions got fucked up, but. For me, it's like, well, the most logical point is because all those little houses are really close to each other. So when one catches fire, they all catch fire. All these big ass houses are way off on their own. So it
That's
don't
true.
matter if your neighborhood catches fire, it ain't fucking with them because they have a massive buffer.
Yeah,
You
that
know?
the whole thing is shitty for those poor people. Hopefully they have insurance.
It's awful. Well, and
Um,
then there's a lot of dead people too. So
and now that toll
probably
was
a lot
damn near
more than
100 last I heard.
yeah, and it's going to be a lot more.
Yeah. So it's unfortunate. My heart goes out to all those people. But again, this is just standard, typical bullshit from our government.
Right.
We had a multi-billion-dollar contract, crash a train filled with the kind of gas that you make, well, bioweapons and chemical weapons for during wartime, that literally wiped out a whole town, and they've received nothing yet. Nothing. And that's a problem with most people in this country. They have the attention span of a gnat. If if Joe Biden actually got caught molesting an 8-year-old girl today, everybody would forget about it. Maybe not you or I or Tucker Carlson or Joe Rogan, but generally speaking, everybody would just forget all about it in a week because they just either people don't care. And I don't think that they're unempathetic towards these things. I just think that the average person, and I don't mean the hard left or the hard right, just the average everyday person, they can't stand to listen to it anymore. They know there's nothing they can do, or at least they don't believe that there is. And they're right to believe that there's nothing they can do. They're flaunting it. The power brokers in this country and the politicians are flaunting it. They're literally coming out on camera, looking right in the camera and going, na boo boo, fuck you. There's nothing you can do to stop me. Joe Biden's pretty much done that for the last 20 years of his career. All this guy's been a liar, a plagiarizer, a molester, just a creepy Uncle Joe fucking character for so long that he literally yells at people and gets, let's go around back and fight because he's 80 years old. And that's going to work out well for him because he knows nothing is ever going to happen. And I think that the general person in this country, people like you and I, and our friends who aren't nearly as involved in this as we are,
or handsome, or intelligent,
right? There's all that too, or it's talented, but they're smart enough to understand that to do anything or to get upset about it or to even try to do anything is a pointless endeavor for them because they know nothing's ever going to happen because of it. And they're right. Nothing will happen. You know what will happen is you get angry enough that you go on some social media site and you vent your anger, and then the fucking government shows up and kills you.
Yeah,
that's what happens to us. But
yeah,
Joe
they drive
Biden,
you to the point of insanity, and then they execute you.
But Joe Biden can be a grifter for 50 years and nothing ever happens to him.
Yes.
And I'm when I mean grifter, I that's exactly what he is. He's a grifter. And they all are. There's no politician in our country that's not a grifter. They all are grifters. That's what they all do. They
by definition,
people for money 24/7. That's what they fucking do.
Politics is a grift by definition.
100%, man.
Yeah.
And I feel bad for grifters because they don't deserve it.
I know, right?
Real grifters work hard for their money, man.
Right. Really they got some kind of talent at least.
So, right.
So here's another one. Let's add another group of elitists that had their massive Maui estate completely spared. Not a single blade of grass burned. The Obamas.
Oh, good for the Obamas. Shocker. Another great thing about the Obamas is...
But I heard their new chef's house got burnt down. So
Obama and his wife, and Obama, who never worked in anything but the public sector, when he got elected president in 2008, the Obamas were worth about $700,000. Now they're worth over $100 million. And it's shocking how they've been able to do that without producing a single thing.
Right. Well, he's been on the take since the jump, but his book, Genes of My Father, or whatever it was, he goes into these relationships that he had, and one of them was this white girlfriend that he supposedly had, and actually nobody bothered to track her down and ever interview her
Right.
until finally recently an autobiographer did an autobiography. um is it an autobiography or is it a biography when you do it about
Biography
somebody
is
else?
what somebody else does. It autobiography is when you do it.
Do it yourself, obviously. It's auto. Okay, I got you. So he did a biography on Barack Obama, and he went through all of his book stuff, and then he like went through from Obama's book, and he went through and like verified that and like caught up with these people, all the people, including the girlfriend that nobody ever caught up with. And he asked her, what happened? What happened with your relationship? This kind of like goes blank here. Like the story goes dry. Like, can you tell me more? By the way, this author is not a slouch. He's a Pulitzer Prize winner. He's highly decorated, and he's a leftist. So he doesn't have a axe to grind with Obama. But he talked to her, and she not only revealed that there was a letter that has been leaked that he sent to her, that Obama sent to this girlfriend, where it was heavily redacted, but she clarified some of the points. He apparently admitted to her that he frequently fantasizes about having sex with men. But the biggest scoop was he asked why they split up. And she said it all started with an art piece they saw. And the way he wrote it was that she was sort of like, I guess, racist and didn't like this art piece that was sort of pro Black power. And they had a big fight, and that was the end of it. And she said, no. She said he was all big into Louis Farrakhan at the time, and he was very anti-Semitic because of Louis Farrakhan's teachings. And she said, and my family is one of the, I can't remember what it's called. There's a special designation, like first family or something like that. And it's families who, like Polish families who helped Jews escape. And she's a descendant of people who helped Jews escape Nazis. And she's like, yeah, I can't, if you're going to embrace this kind of shit, we're done. And he's like, well, I guess we're fucking done. And so that was the end of it. So it's so funny though, that nobody ever bothered to chase this down, this story. And then
My guess is
now
maybe,
nobody will talk about it now.
right. Well, my guess is that somebody or two probably did, and it wasn't the answers that they wanted, so they dropped it.
There you go. Yep, you're probably correct, sir.
Well, wasn't there was also I actually kind of shocked she even really existed, because the little redheaded girl is almost, tit for tat the same one in Ayer's book that he wrote.
Oh yeah. It's probably Ayers that wrote it. He was probably the ghostwriter, Bill Ayers.
Yeah. But in his own book, long before Obama's book, I mean, the redheaded girl is almost identical. It's just weird, right? That's why I didn't even know if she ever actually really existed.
Yeah, apparently there's a real girlfriend.
That's pretty cool to know. And the reason that you can't make this shit up. The reason she ended their relationship is because he's a fucking racist. That's fucking amazing, man.
Right.
Oh my God, that's so.
And then he just ended up being a sellout. It's not like he did anything for Black people. He just ended up being a fucking.
I mean, anybody
shill.
Who's listening to us, and you're a Democrat, and I hope lots of Democrats listen to us because you could learn something. But, again, we mentioned it earlier. I implore you to really do a deep dive into the Obamacare legislation. I know it's not called Obamacare, but that's what everybody calls it. So we're just going to leave it at that. And I would implore everybody just look into it. I mean, it was written by the insurance companies. This was never intended to help people at all. His betters, his benefactors, the insurance companies, the pharmaceutical companies, they told him that this needed to be done. So it was done. And I think my problem with the right in a lot of this stuff, and Sean Hannity immediately comes to mind because of his alleged hatred for Obama. but he's really running cover for that guy. Why isn't he bringing up the fact that Obama really doesn't have a whole lot to do with this, and that the people that are behind this are the ones that are doing this, and that this is all a farce? Instead, he makes it seem like Obama's president, he and only he has, the power over this, and he needs to be removed from power because of it. Well, I've said it before, I'll say it again. If Obama's a grifter, he probably learned it from Sean Hannity because he's a better one.
Since we're getting close to time, let's try to end this on a little bit brighter, more inspirational note.
Sure.
So I was telling you about this earlier today, I believe. Vivek Ramaswamy.
Love him.
Candidate for Republican nomination for president. Young millennial, just turned 38 years old. Is one of the most impressive people I've ever witnessed in my life. And I don't mean running for president. I just mean witness
as a human being.
As just a human, just an impressive individual. Holy shit. And people that I'm impressed, people that I respect their viewpoints and they're very impressive to me. They're impressed by him.
Yep.
Right. So I was watching like a stump speech he was given, I think it was, and it might even been the PBD town hall, but it was so eloquent and so beautiful and inspirational and uniting and none of the negativity. It was just really awesome. And so you start to wonder, man, is this guy too good to be true? Is he just like, has he really worked hard and just polished this persona and made himself this perfectly looking thing that you've got here, other than being, young and an Indian and like all this shit, right? So somebody I read in the comments on this same thing I was watching, it said, if you think he's, created this persona or he's polished himself into this, go back and look at his commencement speech for his high school and tell me what you think then. So I went and looked it up. And of course, Vivek was the valedictorian for St. Xavier Catholic High School, which is a really high sort of elite level private Catholic school. And not only did he go to this top-notch school with a bunch of brainy people, but he smoked everybody and was the valedictorian. And here's an Indian, a Hindu, is the valedictorian at a Catholic school. But my favorite part was he talked about the fact that how he was at Mass for the first time, at Catholic Mass as a Hindu. And he was like, do we stand? Do we sit? Do we kneel? Oh, shit, I don't know what to do, And he was like...
I was raised Catholic, called Catholic stenics, and you do all of that.
Yeah, you get into shape. But anyway, but he was saying like it was super confusing at the beginning, but by the end he realized that, Hinduism and Catholicism aren't at odds, that they have similar approaches to orthodoxy. They believe in a God, so on and so forth. But what I really want to get to and finish with is that at 18, him giving that speech was more eloquent, more inspirational, more on point. Just everything about it was one of the best things I've ever seen. And he was fucking 18, dude. And he's only twice as good now. Wow, that man is absolutely just mind-blowingly impressive.
The guy built up a $1 billion biotech company before he was 30 years old. He is an amazing human being. I would implore anybody who is looking for anything in politics that is moving in a positive direction. He is one of them. He may be the only one. But this guy obviously is not going to win the presidential nomination, but I'm glad that he's getting his name out there. I'm glad he's getting himself on the map, and I hope that he continues because he's young, and we need leadership from young people. Because I will say this, and then I'll jump out of this. Baby boomers need to fucking lick my balls and get the hell out of politics. You're too old. Go away. We're done with you. Just go away.
Yep. And Vivek, keep doing your thing, dog. I know you're watching because you're one of the millions that watch this wonderful podcast, but buddy, keep doing your thing. You're the shit, man. You're on the right track. And man, I don't know, with that, I can't wait to cover football next week, bro.
Next week, we do the NFC and our predictions for the NFC leading into the season. Then 2 weeks after that, we'll be doing the AFC. And in the interim between those weeks, my brother Chad will be visiting me right here in Georgia, and we will be doing something special for that broadcast. So looking forward to all these things. And then, of course, after we do our AFC special, the NFL will kick off that Thursday with the Kansas City Chiefs versus the Detroit Lions, which I think is going to be an amazing game because I think Detroit could be legit this year. And we'll talk about that next week.
That's right. And with that, peace out.